Well, good morning. It is Saturday, the 28th of July, 2018. This here is our 2006 Subaru Outback limited edition model. It needs pads on the front, and I'm going to show you how to do it right after this. You gotta crack these loose before you lift the tire off the ground. Otherwise, you may not get them loose unless you're using an air powered tool. Okay, so you need to use a 9/16 socket, and it might be handy to have a hammer nearby so that you can hit the handle of your ratchet if the bolt is too tight. There are two bolts that hold on this brake assembly. This one here at the top, you can see where that is, and then there's another one down here at the bottom, right here. Those two have to come out. You can see these little rubber boots between them. Okay, so we're going to take these out now. You can move this line a little bit out of your way. Don't push on it too damn hard. Now that did not require a mallet or a hammer. And you don't want to lose these, so make sure you sit these with your lug nuts. They're just short little bolts. Okay, so once you take those two bolts out, all you're going to do is work this off. You just got to wiggle it, and it'll come right off. What I want you to pay attention to are these two pistons. These two pistons, when you hit the brake, it pushes fluid through this line, and it pushes these pistons out, which pushes the rear brake pad towards the front and pulls this metal together, applying both brake pads against your rotor. Okay? You want to be careful because you don't want to break this line. If you break this line, you got to replace it. So sit that off out of the way someplace safe. All right, so you see the pads are right here, one here and one here. They just slide towards you. There's two grooves, a groove here and a groove here that they slide into. They just pop out. And as you can see, there's a little bit of meat left on them. On this side anyway. So you pull that off and you pull the back one out. Now I want you to take notice to this clip. You see how this is on here? This sticks out beyond this metal housing piece here. That's so when this wears down, as you can see just a little bit more, this would start hitting the rotor and start squealing. So if you hear squealing brakes, it's because your squealer is letting you know that your brake pad is worn down enough, it's time to change it. It's a warning. I just want to point out that I buy the cheap pads. The reason I do is because I just as soon change these things once every year or two. It's easy enough. I mean, you jack it up, you take the wheel off, take two bolts out, you change the pads, and you put it back together. So you can buy what you want. These are like $25 or $22, and it does both front wheels. That's good for me. Okay, so when you open the box, you have 4 pads in there. By looking at them, you can see one has the squealer. One does not. We took the squealer off the back, so you're already a professional. You already know that that goes on the back. And the pad obviously faces into the rotor. Now you look at the old one compared to the new one, and you'll see the difference of how much pad wore down. So then you just take this pad, new pad, and you slide it into the same grooves the other one came out of. And you want to fit that into those 2 grooves. Just like that. And it should look pretty flush to the rotor. You see that? You got that tab in the back on the bottom. Just 2 little grooves. Just like this here. This little tab here, see the tab at the top? And you got a tab at the bottom. And they just slide into those 2 grooves. You got to put them both in pretty much at the same time though. If you sit one in and then the other, they won't really want to slide together. So just kind of start the bottom, start the top, and just wiggle them and they'll go in. Okay, and then the front's the same way. You want to make sure the curvature of this is following the curvature of the rotor. In other words, you wouldn't want to put it on this way. There's a tab here and a tab here. You're going to sit the bottom one in a little bit, sit the top one, we get the top one lined in there, and just push it into place. That's all there is to it. Now the new pads are on, but you can't slide the caliper back on yet. We need to adjust the caliper. Super easy, but you are going to need a C-clamp for that. You're going to need one of these. I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your caliper, again, be careful this line. You're going to sit one end of your C-clamp in there and one end against the back of the housing here. And you're going to tighten it. And what the goal is here is to have the C-clamp push those pistons back in. And as soon as I get this started, I'll move the camera so you can see it a little bit better. Let's see. You see the piston? As we tighten this, it's going to push that piston back in, and any of the fluid that's behind it is going to get pushed back into your master cylinder under the hood. So you won't have to bleed your brakes or anything. That's it. That one's in. That one's in. Now we got to put the next one in. So you loosen the C-clamp back up again. Put it on there like that. Tighten it. And as you tighten it, it'll push that piston in. And you're just going to go until you feel it stop. And then take it off. Don't reef it tight or anything. This will slide back on here now. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to make sure that when you stick this caliper back in, this ear for the bolt is on the outside of that rubber bushing. And slide it back in just like that. See? This ear that the bolt goes through is on the outside of this bushing. Top and bottom both. Yeah, just take your top bolt, stick it in and line it up with the hole. Until it goes through there. And just tighten it down. By hand at first. Don't tighten it real tight, because you got to put the bottom one in yet. Now, then you're going to take this one, stick it in, and line it up, and get it started. As you can see, it's not that difficult. Now, After you do this brake job, it's important to understand you're not going to have brakes the first time you push the pedal. So after you start the car, you should push the pedal a few times to get those pistons to come back out to where they're just touching the brakes. That doesn't mean you have to measure it or anything. Just keep pushing them until they get hard again, and then you're done. And put your ratchet back on tighten. And you want these tight. Now, if this all seems loose to you, it's because you haven't pushed the pistons back in yet. We're not going to do it now. We're going to wait till we get the other side done as well. And then this will tighten right up. I'm going to put the wheel back on now. Okay, don't forget to take your jack stand out. There's a handle on the side of it. When you lift it, it drops the top, and you just get that out of the way. Put the wheel back on. And when you put these lug nuts back on, just hand tight. Do everything in a star pattern. Push the bottom of it in. Put one down here. Just hand tight. Come over this way. Just keep going across from the previous one that you just put on, that's all. The whole idea is just to make sure it sits right. Push here and do it. And down at the bottom. And put the last one in. Now when you tighten these, you want to tighten these in a star pattern as well. I spin this until it hits. And a couple turns around. Then come down across it. Spin it until it hits. A couple turns around. It's not hitting yet, see? Just stick to a star pattern. That'll make sure it seats properly. And it don't have to be super tight here. This is just to get it so it doesn't wobble. We're going to tighten it after we let the jack down. Now you want to make sure you put them on nice and tight. Also in a star pattern. And you want to check these again tomorrow or later on today, or both, to make sure they didn't loosen up. Even if you're putting it on with an air impact wrench, you want to check them again tomorrow. Alright, so there you go. You saw how to change the brakes on the front passenger side of the vehicle. It's the same as for the driver's side, so go ahead and do the same thing on the opposite side and you'll be all done. You can stop the video now if you want to. I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to record it from a standstill position and I'm going to play it at high speed, so if you want to see everything happening all at once instead of all the zoomed in angles, you'll get that here. If you enjoy videos like this, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, and when you do, hit the little bell. You'll be notified anytime I upload a new video. I try to upload at least one per week, sometimes more than that. Thanks for watching, and let me get this side done.